Welcome to the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Gray. The best thing about being a nurse and entrepreneur over the last 25 years are the relationships I've developed and the people I've met. As a legal nurse consultant, I wanted you to hear from those amazing people in the legal and healthcare communities. I wanted you to hear who they are and to celebrate them with me. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered. Let's dive into the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I'm really excited to talk to my guest Laura today because we're kind of going in a different direction here. We're pivoting a little in our conversation more than we usually do. And I am looking forward to getting to know Laura here and hearing your story and for you to share with my audience, what you're all about. It's going to be a great conversation. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation too.
Yeah. Okay. So I always start off the podcast asking where in the world you're coming from. Where in the States are you coming from? Because we all kind of connect with our locals.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm coming from Littleton, Colorado, and that's a suburb of Denver.
Yeah. I've been to Denver many times. I don't think I've been to Littleton, but I've been to Denver is actually, fun fact, Denver is actually one of my favorite airports.
I like it.
But I don't mind flying through Denver. So there we go. Well, I appreciate you being here. And I want to start out by asking you, where did you, what did you want to be when you grew up? Because I know that I asked this question a lot to nurses. Where did you always want to be a nurse? Did you, what did you want to be when you grew up? So what was that like for you?
Yeah. Oh, it's so relevant. I wanted to be a ballet dancer.
Okay. Interesting. Yes. We could go far with that, right?
Exactly. I mean, let's be honest. For many years, I thought, yes, prima ballerina. That's what I want to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then as I grew up a little bit more and got a little bit more, realistic about life, I wanted to be a journalist. And my undergraduate degree was in journalism because what I wanted to do was tell stories and connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So did you go to school for journalism?
I did. My undergraduate was journalism, and I worked for an NPR affiliate for a while, and I really enjoyed it. But then I started thinking what it is about journalism that really gets me was that I thought I could help create justice. I thought I could help tell stories about what was really going on so then people could be like, aha, this is what's going on. This is wrong. This is what I need to do. And I could create justice with that. So with that focus on justice, that's when I pivoted and went to law school. And
okay,
I was with an insurance, a health insurance company. So
yeah. Okay, so actually, you're not the first person I've met who went down that similar road. So you decided to go to law school, and for us legal nurses, who have not gone to law school and who are in this world, law school is a little scary. I know for me. Did you find that it was something that you totally embraced, or was it just as terrifying as I think it is?
I actually loved it. I love researching. I love constructing the arguments. I love finding evidence to support things. So I really loved that part. But what I didn't love was everybody else's egos and everybody being argumentative. It was like, can we just all connect around this? Right. And you create your argument and I create mine, and then we go out and have coffee?
Right. So that part of it was something that it was surprising to you on just like a personality level?
Yeah, because I'm friendly. I like people. I like connecting. I like talking. And you know what? There's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of people who just like to argue.
Right. Right. Okay. So then once you finished law school and started working, were you like, what did I get myself into? Or did you take that and kind of run with that? What did that look like to you?
Yeah, I love that question. I had a love-hate relationship with practicing law. Like I
Mhm.
said, I loved the research. I loved constructing arguments. I loved feeling like I can actually do something that can create justice. I can
Mhm.
actually change the world. And I loved that part of it.
Mhm.
What I didn't love at all was how there was absolutely no work life balance. You
Mhm.
cannot practice law, clock out, and just go home and raise your kids and be with your family and have fun.
Right.
And that was kind of a disillusionment for me.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Um, because it was typical amongst any sort of practice, right? That you just had to, you lived and died with
Yeah,
your work, right?
yeah,
And I've experienced that with the attorneys that I work with. Some of the attorneys I work with, I will, be working on something on the weekend, and I'll just send a text about something, and sure enough, he's
right
like,
there.
You're not bothering me because I'm working as well." So I get that that part of it. So did you decide then, or I should say, how did you decide then, you know, was it something you wanted to, pursue, or was it like, okay, I don't like this, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z? Did you make that? Was that an easy decision? And what did you do on your
Yeah,
next step?
exactly. It wasn't an easy decision because there was so much that I loved about what I did. But
Mm-hmm.
I was starting to get like that disillusioned because there was no work life balance. And I had two kids 22 months apart. My husband had a job where he traveled 2 weeks out of every month.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents, I was very close to my family. I still am, but 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were in various stages of dying. So
Mm-hmm.
I was pulled in umpteen million different directions.
Mm-hmm.
I started to have, I'm sure people have experienced this, where you're like, it's so right. I know I'm on the right side of this argument. I know we're doing the right things for the right reasons. And oh, look, we lost anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
that was
Right.
starting to get really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was really burning out. I knew that this isn't how I wanted to live my life. And I kind of joke about it, but I kind of had one of those irrational snap moments where I was like, I'm just going to move into the wellness space. I don't really know what that means, but I'm out of here. I can't
Yeah.
do this one more minute. And I quit.
Yeah. Interesting. So I can relate to this on many levels, and I know that my audience can do this on many levels. In the nursing space, the nursing space, when it came to um, why we wanted to be nurses, what it was like practicing in nursing, COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was what it was really like practicing in nursing. And here we are years later. So there are a lot of the legal nurse consultants that I have interviewed on this podcast have all reached a very similar um, space in either their family life, their new moms. They don't they love nursing, but there are aspects of it that um, don't fit their lifestyle, and they don't see themselves doing this forever. So a lot of that I can relate, and I know that those listening can easily relate to, um, where they've made this decision in doing something that isn't bedside, that is that change. So I love the fact that you decided to do the wellness space. Was there someone in particular, or a mentor, or were there people that you followed that you really resonated with, that helped you kind of make a decision? Because I mean, you could really go in any direction, right? It's like, okay, I need to take a leap and jump into something that makes me happy. Why do you go down that space?
Mm-hmm. I really didn't have a mentor. I felt like I was just so strung out at that point. I just needed out. And what I did is I started exploring my own passions. I started by saying my first love was I was going to be a ballet dancer. I loved movement. I loved fitness. I loved dancing. So I started teaching more fitness classes. I've always taught fitness classes, but I, became certified in a wide variety of mind, body fitness, yoga, group exercise, all these things. And I thought, well, I'm going to start there because that's a passion for me. And then from there, I started thinking, well, this takes the body, but it doesn't really do anything with the mind. So I started exploring different things, and I learned about clinical hypnotherapy. And I thought, wow, I really like this. Let's explore it. I started seeing how powerful it was. I became a clinical hypnotherapist. I started studying energy. Ooh, I'm fascinated by energy work. What does that mean? What is healing touch? What is integrated energy? What is Reiki? So I just started following my passions, and it was really interesting how it started coalescing into a structure, into a framework. And then I would test things out. I would test it out on my kids. I would test it out on their friends. I would test it out on my mom friends. I would, reconnect with the attorneys that I had practiced with and be like, let's try this. How are you feeling? Come work with me. Let's just see. And it became fun that way.
Ah, I see. So you kind of just did your own thing and did your own research, kind of like my bookcase back here, where I could probably say the same thing, where it's like, this interests me, and just kind of take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then you look back and you're like, well, this is what makes me me now, because I've learned all of these things and apply them and test them. So I love the fact that you had done that kind of on your own. And so obviously you probably got great feedback from others who said, wow, what you're sharing with me was helpful. And is that how you decided, okay, this is I'm meant for this? And is that where you started to build your clientele?
Yes, I was raising my kids too, and that was a big priority. I wanted time with my kids. So I thought, this is the perfect mom job. I can do this part-time. I can do it on my schedule. And the entire time I raised them, I was doing this part-time, and I was loving it. And like you said, great feedback, enjoying it, feeling for the first time really on purpose and really happy. Come when they graduated. And I thought, this is great. I'm going to go full-time now. This is going to become my full-time career. This is great. Kid you not, a few months before my youngest graduated, a month and a half before he graduated, I found out my husband had been cheating on me for 15 years with multiple women. And I mean, everything collapsed. I had a book contract with a well-known publisher. I was about to launch. I couldn't get off the floor. I couldn't figure this out. I couldn't. It was like everything that I had ever done had imploded. And it ended up actually being the biggest gift and the biggest launching point. Because first of all, it made me really get serious about this work. And it wasn't just a part-time mom thing. And I wasn't just making people feel better again. I was actually really dealing with real trauma, real pain, real healing, real growth in me. And I had to do all of that work first. And that's really where everything started coming together, that it wasn't burnout. It was a sense of betrayal. I had experienced a sense of betrayal in my corporate career. Other people were experiencing a sense of betrayal, whether it's in their career, in politics, in marriage, in religion, like in life. We so often feel like life betrayed me. This isn't what I expected. I did everything right, and then this happened. That's not fair. And it was like, bam. That's when I knew this was my call.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that the word betrayal, I don't know, for me, I don't think that we think about that often. And the way that typically it's in a situation like you said. I can't imagine. I went through divorce myself, so I know how heartbreaking and heart-wrenching and that is typically when we would find a betrayal. But using that in the workplace, can you expand on that? Because I find that word is an interesting word because we're typically using it in one way or another, but I have a feeling that you're going to say that. Give us some enlightenment on that word and the betrayal in like the workplace, for example.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned COVID with nursing, because that is such the perfect example of a betrayal. First of all, betrayal is defined as the breaking of an expectation that we have relied on that ruptures our view of ourselves or the world. So think about that in terms of COVID. First of all, most people didn't expect a global pandemic.
Correct.
So when that happens, we go, whoa, that ruptures my view of the world. If this can happen, what else can happen? So that's a little betrayal, right? That's a big betrayal right there. Yes. Take it into the workplace. As a nurse, I expect to be able to support people, to help people, to have funding, to have all of these things. Suddenly, nurses are overwhelmed. We don't have tools to help people with COVID because we don't even know what it is. We're worried about our own health. It's not like we didn't have a shot at the beginning. We didn't have knowledge about that. That ruptures our view of I'm safe in my job. I'm capable in my job. The medical profession can help people. We will be adequately funded. People aren't going to hate on us. All of a sudden, there's not going to be this huge controversy around vaccines. All of these things started happening that people didn't expect.
Right.
And then it just ruptures our view of this is not the way things are supposed to be. This is not what I'm supposed to have to deal with. And then you start experiencing betrayal trauma, which leads to burnout. And hey, I'm out of here.
It's so interesting because I almost think also, and correct me if I'm wrong, that betrayal sometimes feels like if you admit betrayal, right, that you were betrayed one way, shape, or another, that there's this shame involved in it. Like, what did I do wrong to have these expectations? Was I thinking incorrectly? Should I have seen this? Should I have expected this? And you don't want to admit that happened to you. Is that right? I mean, I'm just kind of walking through this myself as you're saying it. So
yeah, absolutely. Because think about the way we've all been raised with fairy tales and Disney stories, and even like parents, do good and you'll get the gold star. Right. Make mommy happy and we'll do this. We truly have been raised to believe if we do the right things, we're going to be rewarded.
Right.
So yeah, it makes us feel like I've done something wrong.
Right. Okay. So now that we've established that that we've all been betrayed, even though we didn't realize it, and that it has to do with expectations. I find that so interesting because I think for years I've been saying, when you set expectations, I mean, that's where everything falls apart too, is you're setting expectations and you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And it's when, I know personally for me, it's when I stopped in all sense of, work, relationships, I stopped setting expectations and my life just opened up because I think it's maybe the fear of betrayal. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. Yes. And one of the filter questions that I have people ask themselves, is my expectation idealistic or is it realistic? And that's
very
a good place.
much so. Yes, I think that had to do with, I mean, in anything, but I know relationships for sure. Relationships, you set these expectations. I mean, that's where the first comes. You set these expectations on, this is what my ideal marriage should look like, friendship should look like, and they have let me down because you've set that expectation, and then you feel like they have betrayed you. It's very fascinating. I could talk about this all day long.
Oh yeah, and just along.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say along those lines, I love that you said that because what I talk about is identifying expectations and then communicating them. Because think about a marriage or a friendship or a career. You have expectations, the other person has expectations. I expect that you have the same ones I do. That person expects that I have the same ones they do. And then we just operate with all these assumptions. And if you really want to make yourself happy, you can identify, this is what I expect. What do you expect? And then you can have a meeting of the minds.
Right.
Either this is not going to work, or, oh my gosh, yeah, 8 out of 10 things we agree on. Let's hash out those other few points.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So then when it comes to burnout, right? Because typically those nurses that have ended up on this side of the community are still nurses, but you would take a poll and you would say, would you qualify yourself as being out? I would say 90% of them would say yes. I think I fought that for a long time to admit the fact that you were burnt out, because I think admitting the fact that you were burnt out is accepting failure, So can you talk a little bit more about being burned out and how, just wrapping our heads around that?
Yeah. And so good that you talked about failure, because here's the thing. I like definitions. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
The definition of burnout is stress that has been unsuccessfully managed. So when you have a large amount of stress, as so many nurses do, what are the tools to manage stress? Okay, there's self-care, there's meditation, there's taking a walk, there's all these different tools. And then when you do all of those things and you still feel burned out, that's when you're like, I feel like a failure. I took a walk, I meditated, I downloaded the Calm app, and I am a failure. And the thing is, it's what I say is, if you're doing all of the traditional remedies for burnout and you're not feeling better, it's probably not burnout. It's like giving an antibiotic for the common cold. There's nothing wrong with the antibiotic. It's just that it doesn't address what's going on. Antibiotics don't help the common cold. They just don't. So that's how you know I'm treating the wrong symptom. It might be betrayal. It's not burnout. So let's move to the remedies for betrayal trauma instead of the remedies for burnout. And let's start moving ahead that way.
Interesting. Okay. And then I'm assuming that the remedies for betrayal are different, like the antibiotic, are different set of tools. What kind of tools do those look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a different set of tools, and there's always some crossover too. So when I talk about some of these tools, if listeners are thinking, but wait a minute, that's kind of a burnout tool, it can be. There is some crossover.
Sure.
Yeah. First and foremost, though, it's identifying it. It's correctly identifying what it is you are feeling.
Okay.
Because when you correctly name it, oh, this does feel like burnout, it shifts things. One of the first things we already talked about, identifying and communicating your expectations. If you correctly identify, I expected to be able to do it all. I expected to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, have a clean house where everything is organized, work out every single day, clink glasses of wine with my friends in the evening, and have a full-time successful career. If I expected that, once you start being able to communicate, then you're like, oh,
right.
I have that expectation, but it's not real.
Right.
So you can shift your perspective on what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you, I don't know, this is maybe a loaded question, but because we have this idea of what it should be, how do we discover what's realistic or ideal? It's like, yeah, I would love to have the perfect body and all of the amount of sleep and, like you said, meet up with my girlfriends on Thursday nights and all of those things. But how do I know if I'm being realistic or if I'm being idealistic? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, just to keep my brain on track, my tools are encapsulated in the acronym FUEL UP. And the F stands for finding your why. And it's reconnecting to, why do I want the ideal body? Why is that important? Is it about aesthetics because I want to be a size 2?
Right.
Okay, why would you want to be a size 2? There's maybe some self-worth stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Do you just want to be healthy? I want to be strong and healthy. I want to be able to get up and down on the floor with my kids. I want to have a long life. When you reconnect to your why, then you can start fettering that out and being like, okay, I got some self-worth work to do. I've got some strange beliefs around relationships. Okay, no, this is healthy. My why is I want to be healthy. So if I want to be healthy, maybe a 20-minute walk and lifting weights for 10 minutes a day is enough. Maybe that's enough. Maybe I can let the rest go.
I love that. And so it kind of all, because you can kind of take every single expectation that you have and really, like you said, peel it back as to why, and then why, and then why, and then why. And then you end up with probably a different picture than what sounds good. So I think that's incredibly valuable, just that on the surface for the nursing community, because I also think that it's so funny because we take care of patients. We are caregivers, right? But yet we don't have the tools to take care of ourselves. We don't understand how to take care of ourselves because we're so busy focusing on taking care of others and making sure that they're okay and doing the right things. And so I think that maybe also there's this shame in nursing that we should know how to, but we don't want to admit that we don't. I mean, I'm just like rolling it here, knowing that thankfully, I've been down the personal development road for so many years, and it helped me get through divorce and doing all of that work that you're saying. You're still a work in progress, but I remember starting off digging into that stuff, and I was already a nurse then, and it was so new to me that I was open to listening to all of that, and thankfully it continued to be more and more and more and more, into where now I'm a personal development junkie. But most nurses, I think, don't know where to start, don't want to admit they don't know where to start, and are ashamed that they even have to. I'm just guessing.
Yes. And I can give some great tools for starting. The up in FUEL UP stands for unbroken promises. And if that's a great place to start, what are some unbroken promises that you can make for yourself? And if you just list 3 to 5 things that are really important to you, maybe you've uncovered your why and figured out staying healthy is really important to me. Having loving, connected relationships, whether it's with my kids or with my parents or with my friends, is really important. Just come up with your list of things that align with your personal values. Then what is the unbroken promise that you can make to yourself around that? I do at least 10 minutes of movement a day. So I call people, I text people, I have a monthly time with my parents. Whatever it is, identify those 3 to 5 things that are really important to you. List the thing that you really, really know you need to do and that you want to do.
Right.
And make an unbroken promise to yourself that you will do it. Because I love that you said how nurses are caregivers. If we broke promises to other people,
I know,
we break them to ourselves, we'd be out of a job, we'd have no friends, it would be awful. So why do we do it to ourselves?
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think also there's probably a bit of fear, right? We talked about failure a little bit earlier, but I think there's also a bit of fear in that if I set this unbroken promises, if I set this unbroken promise for myself, what if I break it? Like there's this fear. So how do you get past that? How do you get past saying, okay, I need to set this unbroken promise. I'm not going to break it. I'm not going to break it. And I'm not going to be afraid of possibly breaking it. How do you get past that?
Yeah, exactly. You have to start. You just have to start. Self-compassion is huge. And that's why I say do small things. If I say I'm going to work out an hour a day every day, that's not realistic.
Totally.
But if I truly do, that's idealistic. But if I say I'm going to give myself 10 minutes of movement a day, if I'm having a backache and my back is seized up, I can still move and kind of stretch and flow for 10 minutes. If I'm really stressed out, I could run for 10 minutes. I can do what I need, but 10 minutes I can do.
Right.
And if I break it, yes, I can be compassionate to myself, but I will also choose to reprioritize myself. What was that about? What was that about? And move on from there.
Yeah. So you just digging into it a little further and being kind to yourself. A lot of the times I think we're really hard on ourselves, and so that's where I think that probably comes from. Is being kind if you do break off and do, and the other thing is being okay with those unbroken promises, being okay with the fact that you're only doing 10 minutes and not an hour. Of course, I'd love to do an hour, but it's not realistic. Right. So, okay, 10 minutes, and then being okay with like, that should be okay. Right.
Yeah. And just in your mind too, think about the unbroken promises that are already in your life. Do you brush your teeth every day? You probably do.
Yeah.
Do you eat food and drink water every day? You probably do. Like, if you really start pushing back on it, do you sleep every day? Yeah, you probably do. There's things that we do every day that just become such a part of our life. It's not as hard as you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. Well, and you clearly have plenty more tools where those have come from, right? So, I know that you have, obviously you have a book, 2 books.
Two books.
Tell us a little bit about those books, because you've given us tools to get started, but I know you have more resources, and I want my audience to know what kind of things that you have out there right now.
Yeah, that's great. One book is called It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal. 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive. And that really walks you down the distinction between, is it burnout? Is it betrayal? It walks you through expectations, uncovering what's really going on. It's just a very fast read, shorter book. It's like 120 pages of just, bam, let's nail the burnout and the betrayal. So that's a really great place to start. My other book is called Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self. And that's a real deep dive. That's a deep dive into identity. That's a deep dive into shedding layers of expectations and society's judgments and becoming aware of the world around you. So that's where to go next if you're like, I'm ready to take a deep dive into me, stripping out of the labels, rules, scripts, and becoming who I am.
I love that. And I know that there are so many of the nurses out there that are listening that can resonate with that are, taking on a new phase in their life, or they've been, and maybe they've put themselves on the back burner and are, ready to take on that. I know for me, I'm in my 50s now, and it's been a constant ongoing journey, but it continues to be like, it almost feels like it's always new. It's like I'm facing this new thing. No, you're not. You've been facing this for the last 15 years, even though it feels new. But you're always working on yourself. So there is always that how do we live better? How do we show up better? Not even better, but like, how do we find happiness in ourselves and joy and things like that. I know that for me, that's a big priority in life. So I appreciate hearing that. And do you have any other pieces of advice for those nurses out there feeling like, I know I can even speak to my own, I am an OR nurse by trade, and in the OR community, there is a lot of burnout because, we're just there. Everybody is overworked, I suppose. Do you have any last pieces of advice of like, how to just breathe? I don't know.
Yes,
that's probably what they're looking for. How to show up. Those are the people that are still working in their jobs, that aren't jumping into something else that brings them more joy. Maybe they feel like their space is always going to be there, and that's okay, but they need to figure out how to survive that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so real. And this might sound trivial, and it's not. The number one way to calm and re-regulate the nervous system, according to the Mayo Clinic, is laughter. And we tend to get so serious. The OR is hard, the ER is hard. We're talking about life and health and career and job. And when we can lighten it, when we can find those moments of laughter, it really does help us reclaim our brain.
Yeah.
So, like you've got your puppy, I've got my cat who's like constantly trying to climb on my lap here. There's people love to scroll on social media, find funny places, find comedians, just find those moments of laughter to reclaim, calm your nervous system and reclaim your brain.
I love that. And I'm surprised that you said that, but I'm so like pleasantly surprised that you said that, because I will tell you, while I went through my divorce, I think the one thing that I was seeking the most was joy and laughter. And I said, all I want in life is a belly laugh. A belly laugh. Because I can't remember the last time I laughed, a big belly laugh. And the one time I did that after that, it just changed my world. I was like, that is exactly what I've been looking for. For years, I had been looking for that. And I'm sure that there are plenty out there that have not had that in a very long time. So I'm so glad that you said that. And it's just such an easy thing to do. And it is so powerful. So thank you for that. I'm glad.
I'm glad. And thank you for getting it, because yes, that belly laugh shifts everything.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. It's the best. And if you can find some friends that love to belly laugh, oh my gosh, it's really the best. And usually they're your colleagues. I'm sorry, but you can joke about and laugh about the same things because you kind of just have to. And if you can find those colleagues that will just laugh with you, then I suppose that's one way to keep showing up, right?
Yeah. Best way ever, because it helps everybody. Laughter is contagious.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Okay, so where's the best place that we can find you now that we've heard your tools and we know we really just need more of this? Where's the best place for the audience to find you?
They can go to burnoutorbetrayal.com, just all one word, burnoutorbetrayal.com. And you can download my guide on Burnout Uncovered, and it's fostering candid conversations around burnout. And you can also go to my website, and that's workplace-burnout. And you can get some more tools there as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate everything that we've talked about, and I could talk to you all day about this. So I know that your inbox will be full after this, I'm sure. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a great conversation.
Great. Thanks. Thank you for joining us in this fun conversation on the Limitless Legal Nurse Consulting Podcast. I hope you found this episode as inspiring and empowering as I always do. And I hope that you share this episode with your friends. If you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could leave us a review or comment, as I would love to share them in the future episodes. Or hop on over into my DMs and send me a quick message. I can be found on Instagram at anna.b.gray, on my website at limitlesslnc.com, and over on LinkedIn at Anna Gray. And I want you to remember, you are limitless. Until next time.